Hi guys, I'm ExactChaos and welcome back to another episode of Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. Now, a lot has happened since the last time you saw this playthrough, and the reason is I messed up a lot. I had some major sound glitches which I didn't realize I was doing until I recorded 4 episodes and I wasn't going to redo it. So what I will do is I will quickly give you a recap on what's going on. First thing is we're in dire straits as it comes to money. Money is a big problem for us at the moment. But on a positive note, we've got a lot more to deal with that's going to generate us some income. And we've got a lot more people. You can see we've reached the 7,000 population mark, which is awesome. And there's some other stuff, exciting stuff that I can take you through. And unfortunately, you, maybe fortunately, you missed a lot of long issues and a lot of planning and so on in terms of getting there. So I do apologize for it. I'm not going to go back and redo those episodes to give you sound. I will just try my very best to give you an awesome update to talk about it. So as you can see over here, we planned this many episodes ago. The food factory and the distillery over here, and they are kind of working, right? We are actually generating a little bit from that. If we look at this, we're kind of holding our own in the month of March here. Probably won't turn a profit, but it's going to be a very minor dip only for March. So I'm fairly comfortable that we're now on a pretty we're reasonably close to dealing to getting us there. But let's see what else has happened. So the town over here of Satomik has actually been developed, and it took me a long time. I just barely had people move in the last episode or two. Got 2 new buildings that we need to start building over here. Got lots of people on the streets everywhere. It's a bustling town, and we're serving this area quite nicely. We've got a bit of a crime problem, so I've got a new police station in here ready to deal with all of that. What does that say? I don't know, uninvestigated cases are excessive. Maybe we should say that. And we also built a new prison here next to the heating plant because we were running out of prison space on the other side. And so it seems like we're in a reasonable position to now continue our journey here with some more people. Now, what is also happening is we planned out, so this is the extent of it. So the reason this money is as poor as it's saying at the moment is because the construction took a lot of steel, and so our steel imports were getting excessive. And so that was a bit of an issue for us. So I had to, and we'll get to some other items. So there's lots of rail tracks being built, that's been built already. This should be under construction, so I'm assuming the track builder will make its way this way to come and build this. We've built this, planned out our rail connection, built a lot more roads, and added some more rail tracks over here. Actually, let's keep the orientation the same way. I might be making you all drunk. I need to have a look at this. Someone's given me a comment around fixing this area. I'll have a look at that in between episodes. But we have got the rail track coming over here. This is our power plant that obviously still needs to be built. This is loading and unloading facilities for coal once it's processed through all of this processing. This is more rail stations over here to allow access to, what is that? Oh, yeah, that's a little pathway to get people here. Next to our mines and our processing facility. So all of this should be able to work from this station over here. And that's kind of the planning extent on this side. Over here, we've got our heating gone up. We don't have anything in here. We need to start planning our steel. But if you have a look at this, you'll see this is probably where I've made a stop to these infrastructure pieces due to the massive steel requirement that they have. I mean, that one is 92. That's okay. That one there is 92,000 tons of steel, or 92 tons of steel, which is really costly. But let's quickly have a look. So what did I do in terms of, I've got a pretty fancy rail piece of rail infrastructure planned over here. Now, so I've finally planned out this section of the rail track. to be able to go into this direction. We've got a bit of a loop to get it to go back to the border post. But also, once you've crossed the highway over here, you can continue on your merry way. This is a bit of a depressed area here, so I've got planning for the road to go over the top of that. We excavated all of that using our own excavators over here. And so as you come off of this track, you can then either continue along our highway, which is kind of the plan, or you can go in towards Satomic over here. So that was kind of the intention. And as you come out of Satomic, you can loop around and go back towards whatever we have planned over in that direction, or you can continue towards Cornoe over there, or you can pop out over here towards the border post. So that's pretty good. Then, if you're coming from the border post, you can also continue straight, go underneath the bridge there, continue straight, go underneath this bridge here, and continue straight through to the other side. So this is a nice little piece. It's pretty big and probably overkill for what we have in the early days, but in the future, we're definitely going to be happy we've got this capacity over here. Ultimately, we've got the road bridge to go across this area, and I'll just show you very quickly. I've had to raise up some hills over here to allow for that, and we made a bit of a depression over there to allow for the rail to go underneath this section, and then they raise up and go over there again. So ultimately, this capacity is going to be very useful to us in the future, ensuring that our rail connectivity works well. And I think it's fairly compact for what it's trying to do in this area as well. Also, we have this rail connection running straight through from Cornoe to Satomic over here, and then loops around that way. And ultimately, we will probably see about getting a rail connection that then again crosses over there and joins the rail track in that direction, so that we've got multiple ways of getting through this area. It gives us a lot of capacity. So that is a bit of the infrastructure build. We've got our distribution operating over here. At the moment, we're getting truck imports, so we're filling this area with trucks. From the border, but also from our new facility. So we can see a lot of food, a lot of clothing, all coming from our own factories, and then from here it is being distributed into town to where we want to use it. So that is the basically what's happening. Now, what I will do, let's have a quick look. Do we have people living at home? Yes, we do. So let's make a start on these two buildings over here, so that we can at least get a little bit more movement going on over there. So we'll start this one there, and we will probably start that one over there. So let's do that. We will make a start on both of those, and that will start construction. This uses a little bit of steel, but not too many, and does give us room. I can't remember how much, but there's a fair bit of people. We could probably have about 200 in each of these, or 150 in each of these at least, something like that. So that adds a bit more capacity on there. Now, we have all of these people moved in. They're fairly happy, not super happy, but fairly happy. Their needs are mainly met. Little bit of issues with health, it seems, but we do have our hospital nearby, our big clinic, and it is doing its thing. So I don't know. We'll keep an eye on these things. Some of this is a little bit poorer, but maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just a little bit less access to things. But anyway, we hopefully will resolve all of this. We are doing an awesome job at getting some infrastructure out of here. So as you would have remembered from our planning, we've got the sewage line running here, and we've got the water line running. What I've had to do is I've had to split off the water line to go this way as well, to be able to tie into some of these areas over here. A little disappointed that I've had to go and do the cross over here. Probably didn't plan that out quite well, but it's reasonable. It's not too bad. We've got a bit of resilience on this network in that we can still move things into different areas, and we've had to bring in an extra sewer line in there. This seems to be a pump instead of a storage, which is a little awkward. I thought I wanted a big storage facility in that area. But anyway, we're dealing with all of this fairly well. We've got lots of water ready to go. This the quality of this is not too bad, but we have got the quality over here nice and even better. We've got both a pump as well as a water tower here. So even if the power does go out, our water should not should not disappear. So that's the situation. Now, the next thing is now I'm running a number of buses. I think at least 4 buses is running from here to this facility over here so that we can do a lot more and try and pump this up a little bit. And there you go. The month of April is looking much better. We're starting to see some green numbers over there. And this is what I hope to achieve. Steel is a big issue, big ticket item for us. Let's have a quick look at our economy in terms of our resources that we're importing, exporting, that kind of thing. Look at this, and these numbers are looking quite healthy. Let's pause it for, well, we don't need to pause it. Let's just pop in here. If we look at our exports, let's quickly look at this. Lots and lots of clothing. Look at that, 38 tons of clothing. That's enormous. Lots of bitumen. We're exporting alcohol now. We're exporting fuel. And then obviously we are exporting some of our waste products, but that's a very minor little number that we're seeing there. So that's awesome. If we look at our imports, chemicals is pretty costly. Crops, I can imagine lots and lots of crops that we're importing to sustain these industries here. So that's not going to go away anytime soon. There's still a big number in terms of steel, and that's the one that we're targeting next. But what you can see over here as well is there is no imports for food, no imports for clothing, no imports for alcohol. So some of our very big food was one of our biggest ticket items here. Steel was the biggest, and then it was food. So clearly we can see we're getting away from the very expensive ones. I am almost tempted to start creating our own chemicals through a little facility over here, just because it's so damn costly. I would imagine that one single facility that we can build somewhere in this area could actually accommodate sufficient chemicals for us so that we can offset that number. And I think that's something that I might do straight away. The other thing that we need to do is get our steel mill up and running. Now, I do know that our steel mill is going to be enormously costly to build. So I don't know if it's generally going to be, well, look at that. These numbers are awesome. These numbers are getting really good. So we shouldn't be too far off from getting our steel mill up and running. Potentially, if we can sort out chemicals and even export chemicals a little bit, that might help. Now, the problem with chemicals, it's pretty complex to do. But see, these other things fairly easy to import. We've even imported some fuel, which we really shouldn't be doing that much of because we've got our own supply, but maybe we were running a little bit short at some locations. So all in all, pretty good. End of April, I'll pause it there for a second. Lots of good numbers over here. Lots of good numbers. Very happy with those numbers. And these numbers aren't too high. So ultimately, a very profitable month for us for the first time in quite a while. I'm happy to see the turnaround there. Now, so the two things we need to do is steel mill. So let's have a quick look. What is a steel mill actually going to end up costing us? So if we were to build a steel mill outright, right? Let's go over there and we hover over the steel mill. It's going to cost us about 400,000, which is all the money we have, right? But in terms of steel, yeah, it requires about 241 tons of steel to construct. Now, we have a supply of steel over here already, so we don't necessarily need significant more steel. We've got half of the steel we need already here, so we wouldn't have to import much more steel. But I'm just kind of holding off on the construction of various other things because our steel supply is our issue. We will not be able to grow unless we get the steel supply underway. So maybe what I do, let's have a quick look. So that was the one thing. The other option for us is to have a look at what we can do with chemicals. And I was thinking a small chemical plant, but even a small chemical plant requires 45 tons of steel. So if I were to build, right, a chemical plant somewhere over here, right? Let's say over here. I don't even know if we can squeeze it in somewhere else. What does it need? Chemicals needs a bit of crops. It needs so little of everything that I really do wonder. The biggest draw here, of course, is the workers. But everything else is fairly minor amounts only. The other option is for us to do a bit of a chemical plant somewhere over here where we can hook up directly. We can get gravel pretty easily from this area, and we can hook up directly with the oil. which is 2 of the items that we need. Crops we can bring in, wood we can bring in, and then water we have available nearby. So this seems to be a reasonable spot. Plus we've got the bus station over here. So I'm kind of tempted. We can have a bit of a look to see if we shouldn't get... We could even get its very own oil pump jack to feed it. That is something that we could certainly have a look at. But we do need to bear in mind that we do dedicated water and sewage, and as luck would have it, I have not created sufficient splits. So we could bring in water from over there because we don't, or we can get our own water because we don't need reasonable water here. What's the water quality that's required? Yeah, very low water quality. So we can get our own water to just a water pump to just go in there as well. And then we can try and just tie in our sewage somewhere. Yeah, unfortunately, it's not ideal. We could actually, if we do it on this side, if we can get people to walk all the way here, we can get gravel direct and oil direct. Yeah, and the rest should be fine. So that is potentially another option for us. Something like this over here. Yeah. That setup there could be useful to us right there. It's going to have power. It's going to have everything. We can get its own water. We can tie in over here with water and with sewage. So yeah, ultimately this might be an awesome spot for it right here. And it's kind of out of the way, reasonably so out of the way. So yeah, something like this could be a good spot for us. The only issue I have with it is it's pretty pricey in terms of the steel to build it. So maybe we'll keep that one on the back burner just for a minute while we quickly plan out our steel mill. Let's clear out some of these messages. Now, in the month of May, we are struggling to make our money again, but I think we'll bounce back. We'll bounce back. Okay, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to clear out all of this stuff. This is very flat, so let's clear out all of these little pathways thingies, and then we'll kind of see where we end up with regards to a bit of a steel mill facility. We want to tie in with the rail though, so we want to bear that in mind. This is built, excellent, and these rail connections are built as well, so that's awesome. I think the track builder isn't doing anything now. Yeah, there's nothing being built, so what I can do, I can assign these items to just get the rest of this built as well. So let's assign all of those items to get the rest of that built. So we kind of get all of this built and then maybe up to all the way there, and then we can go off into that direction. So we want to keep everything kind of moving. Happiness is okay. Our unemployment is on a reasonable number. I would like it to around the 10% mark, so we at least have some spare workers. But actually 400 workers is not a bad number to have spare. So that's all good. So let's have a bit of a look. If we wanted to plan out a steel mill. So steel mill options, we have the big guy. Let's have a quick look under modded steel mills. I just want to see, but I guess we probably don't have anything major. This is for 12 tons, which is much, much smaller than the other one we have. It's much cheaper to construct though, and so for that reason it might be worth considering. 12 tons of steel a day will take us some distance, but this is a tiny little facility, and the question mark really comes whether we do something like this as a starting point. I almost think we do, just considering where we're at in terms of these numbers and how we're struggling to really get our numbers balanced out. If we can stop importing steel and we can generate our own. Okay, so that's the one option. That little steel mill there will get us a bit of a reasonable number. 500 workers is an enormous amount. We barely have that many people living here, though we will be scaling it up. And so ultimately, getting it ready for the scale up is part of the plan. So, and ultimately, we might even do multiple steel mills over here in the future. And maybe we should start planning maybe we should plan for that. So let's have a look. What do we need? We need rail connection. We need both coal and iron to come in. And we do have the conveyors, so we can get the conveyors going. We can also get the rail to drop this off directly in these facilities. But I guess we will not necessarily do that. So my view is let's see, if we were to plan out something like this. Do one there, flip it around, turn it around, one over here. We will need to bring in a little bit more power into this area. Okay, so something like that. That's kind of the plan. None of this happens, and it's not going to cost us any money. Yeah, money is not bad. Money is not bad. We're kind of in a bit of a recovery there. We will need to bring in tons of workers here. And that might be the reason why we don't want to do it this way. I'm going to cancel this one. I'm going to cancel both of them and make a little bit more room for it. So if we go back, grab that again. So what are our options? Let's just have a look. We want to bring workers from there in here. So I think the first thing we need to do is have a bit of a look at what we can achieve over here. This traffic jam, let's just pause it there and have a look. This traffic jam is the gravel. It's always the gravel. We haven't seen traffic jams anywhere else. So if I were to bring this, doesn't want to do that. If I bring it a little bit further away like that, actually that's a pretty nice little item there. So if we do that and we tie in the other one there, so that's a reasonable one. I wouldn't mind doing there's the option for the one way, of course, right? So if we were to run this track like so, yeah, let's just get our items, get our steel mills in place. So if I'll move it away a little bit. We'll need to get its own kind of everything really. So if we did one. And if I, flipped it around like this. So something like that, right? Gives us a double steel mill. We can run this road in here to provide access. We can put a bus station in here if we needed to. And we can loop these around in a number of different configurations. Now, what we also need to do is we need a bit of a storage facility over here. So what we want to do is the big open storage facility, something like this. What does this actually do? This is 4K worth of steel that we can hold. And I'm guessing I'd rather do it this way. Yes, like so. Why didn't that one connect? Let's just double check that we can in fact connect it. We can. Let's get that back into business. Now, from here, yeah, I'm kind of tempted to do the one-way loop. Yeah, I'm tempted to do the one-way loop. So let's clear this out and that. We'll do the one-way loop as such. We'll get these guys to fill into these areas. Okay, all of them, to be honest. And then we'll loop around. And what we can have is we do need to get a road. Let's plan out our road first. So if we were to cut across there. Well, let's get our road to run up here. And we'll tie that in like so. And then we'll bring in the rail. So let's trim the rail back like so. And we do need to extend beyond there. And now we need to bring it in like this. Get ourselves a bit of a platform. Passenger platform, please. Probably something like this is going to be sufficient. Is there anything looks a little bit better than that? Do we need wider though? Sometimes I kind of wonder if we do. Yeah, this might be better. This will give us one platform in the middle there that we can then tie into those areas. We do need to leave a little bit of room for a conveyor. So let's leave it in there. I will trim this guy back to there. And we will actually extend it just a little bit more. Like so. Okay, and from here we'll tie it in like that. So I think it's a little bit tight. I wouldn't necessarily think it needs to be that tight. But what we need to do is make sure we can tie into all of these things. So what we would like to do is from this side, we want to do that one. That's good. And then of course, yeah, we don't have a lot of room here. So what I'm kind of wondering is, can we directly out of there, it's a little close, it's a little tight there, can we do this? Yeah, it's a bit tight though. No, that's not what I want to do. It's well, actually, it's a bit of an issue. So if we do that, let's drop the F4. We can kind of do better if we drop the F4. Might need to, I don't know, it doesn't want to really work. So something like that potentially gives us all of those guys access, and then what we can do is we can try and tie into there for the steel pickup. These, I don't know if we're actively going to use these, right? So maybe what we'll do is let's trim back 2 of them. So we'll get that. I don't know if that'll ever be working. We could run these straight through there. They actually kind of work. There's not enough room to generate anything else through there. Barely be able to get a semaphore in. And then we need to tie everything back together and loop it back before we start getting into craziness here. So we'll need to kind of cross there to get it in over there. So I think about a straight down. Okay, so something like that really. And then we're going this way. Alright, we're going that way. And we're going, presumably this one can go over there, right? That seems reasonable to me, right? Yeah, that's actually pretty good. So that's then a very reasonable one-way loop. And what we'll do is we'll run this connection. Maybe we'll see. Let's trim it back a little bit more. I like this planning. This is actually working out fairly well. So if we do something like that and then ultimately tie it in, I think that's fairly reasonable. And then we could also then do the same thing with these guys. So that's reasonable, I think. And it's just then questionable whether we need the extra bit. We don't need this, right? So what I'm doing is let's trim these back. That's okay. Can I just ever so quickly do just the tie-in again there? So the question is really, do we need these funky curves, right? So and the answer might be no, we don't. So let's just tie it in straight in there. Okay. Nice and reasonable. Nice and reasonable. Nice and reasonable, and nice and reasonable, like so, right? So all we need to do is, this is a one-way. It's not going to be the end of the world if that doesn't work. We just need to make sure that this is, in fact, chain signal, so that we don't have any issues with these guys running through here. For the time being, I'll just fix this one so we can tie it in again, just so that we build kind of everything in there. So there's a lot of resilience ultimately into this network, and there's not a lot of room for storage of trains, but I think ultimately it should be just fine. And as we get through here, get our F4 back on, we'll get a little bit extra room, and then we'll tie in over there. We just need the double stop there, basically. We can tie in a road that runs this way. That road ultimately can cross. Yeah, so we can do maybe a two-pronged approach, like so. Now, the only other thing that I'm kind of wondering about is whether that curve is a little bit too tight. And I think the answer is yes. Since we're cleaning things up, let's clean this up as well. So let's bring it in a little bit. We probably won't have the longest passenger rails in here, so let's trim that back a little bit out like that, and we'll tie it in with something a lot more reasonable from a rail perspective, and we'll do something like that. That just looks a little nicer compared to where we were at. I think it's a very reasonable setup. This is fairly close, but presumably we'll be able to clear out these connections without too much trouble. Right, all good. Good. Now let's activate the construction on that. So that's our rail setup to allow for the steel. And let's get our road setup completed here. We may as well build these roads as well. So that's not bad. We'll tie it in over there. We'll get a bit of a curve going on like so. We'll do the same thing over here. We'll cut across there like that. From this side, we're going to support that. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think we're going to tie in over here. So realistically, we want to tie in like this. Cut it across there. Unfortunately, that doesn't want to work. Let's remove that and bring in a new one like so. That one will work there, and something like this. That could give us a little bit of room here, and we could ultimately tie it in on this side, right? Let's get it a little bit straighter here, and then we could also tie it in like so, and what we'll do is we'll tie that one in there. So I think that's not a bad option. So let's get all of these roads constructed. Now the roads will get constructed, so we can leave that in place. What we also need, is we need a bit of a road connection on this side also. So I'll give it a bit of a queue. What's going on over here? Oh, it's a path. That's what it was. We'll do that. We'll get that road connection. I don't mind getting this built, even though that's 17 tons of steel. What we will do is we will suspend the construction on these bad boys. And even this guy. Let's suspend the construction on all of this so we don't have too many issues. Look at all of this. This is almost finished building all of these tracks. And we've lost a lot of money yet again. So June has not been kind to us. 50,000. Hang on. Let's just pause it there and just have a look at what the culprit was. Chemicals. And steel. Significant steel. Wow. Yeah. So this is a big issue for us. But I think this is a fairly good steel setup over here. And hopefully that's far enough away to not become a big issue there. And I think we still can run another line of power through here. We will need to have a look at how we power these significant facilities. Our roads should get built pretty quickly here. We are generally pretty good at building roads. We're set up for it quite nicely, so that should work. I do like it. It's fairly compact, actually. It's big, but it's fairly compact. I thought we were going to have a much bigger area for our steel production. We can build 2 steel mills over here, which ultimately will need a lot. What we are missing, and what is coming in through here needs to be, I completely forgot about that. That's actually, let's pause it for a second just before things get out of hand. But what we definitely want to do is we want to provide. Can I raise that up and even more? So this guy. Oh, hang on. We need the 3 out to be able to do that. And let's raise it up. So that is kind of the plan. I won't. I think that's okay. We can go ahead and plan out that. And even this guy over here, that'll work. Let's just make sure we've got all of these things built in and get that all tied in. Excellent. So that's good. So that means we can get our coal in, but we also need to bring in iron. So the iron could go straight into these facilities, but unfortunately, the way we've planned it out now is we need to build both of them in order for even one of them to work. So what I think we need to do is we actually need a separate facility to unload these guys. So we could let's unpause. That's okay. We don't need to pause it. I'm happy with this setup. This is fine. We kind of have the coal running down this way, and we could. This is unloading, yeah? Oh yeah, this is unloading. What is this? Oh, that's unloading in there. So the question is, we could also unload something else in there. Yeah, so we've got this rail here. And so the question is, so if we're bringing stuff in here, we could then run something out this way. And, well, we could run it out this way and loop it around and come back in that direction. And then we could unload over here and also bring it over. And we could... Do we want to use the same or a separate one? And it makes me kind of think maybe we want to use a separate one. In which case, are we then close enough? Unless we run the other one on the other side there, which should be fine. I think should be fine. So if we wanted to do... generally doesn't seem to want to play ball here. Really? How come? That's quite interesting. I thought we'd be able to... Oh, hang on. We're not high enough. Get the upper ones. There we go. Oh yeah. That can work. But what we'll do is we'll flip it around so the road connection can go on the other side. Now the only thing we need to bear in mind is that presumably I think this is fine actually. I think this is fine. So let's do that one there. And that one there, nice and high. So we've got one on the outside and one on the inside. I kind of like the idea of that. And then what we need to do is we just need to make sure we can run the lower one down here. But maybe this time around we'll do something like this. Find a spot there. Okay, so if we do that, presumably we can tie this in. Is it going? Oh, it's going over the top. I did not quite expect that. That one's really high. That one's really high. I don't mind it. I don't mind it. Let's just get it in there. That's okay. And now that means we can run this guy straight over this way. So the plan is really that we do a bit of this. Let's flip this around though. So we'll get this guy on this side. This is going to be super costly. We won't build this. Can we get it straighter like that? Oh, I love it. We do need to run that way, but that's going to be just fine. So we'll probably need... Oh my goodness, we're going to need more than... like that, and... like that. There we go. That is the plan, right? So now we've got conveyors and conveyors of coal running into the center to go onto that side. That is fine. Now, what we want to do is just make sure we cancel all of this construction. We don't want any of these things to start building because they are really, really pricey. And our money is not looking healthy. Money is not looking healthy. So let's pause that there. That is it. Now, the next one is... Okay, so now I think I know what we need to do with the rail. We need to run the rail out in a little bit of a loop. We'll do so. We've already got this guy here, so that's fine. Let's see what we can do. And then what we also need to do is we need to run in the other guys. And I'm kind of tempted to do that fairly quickly over here. So let's provide a little bit of a facility. So we want a rail. I need to finish off this episode though. So if I do a train aggregate unloading facility, I'm thinking let's do a 2. Let's do a 2. Give it a little bit more room. Yeah, something like that. Then we need a bit of aggregate storage. This guy, but let's do... How much? 250? Yeah, I think the 2... let's just do the big one. Let's just do the big one. And I don't want to tie it in with anything but our... So if we do that, we should be able to tie that in pretty comfortably. Over there, yes, no problems. That'll unload directly into there. I don't think we need an engine. And then we'll want a bit of an engine going out this way. We will, we'll get the road on the same side there. Let's increase our height as best we can. We want to move away a little bit there. Want one there, and ultimately we'll want one here. Come on. Okay, there we go. So the only thing I need to do is fix this one, which I've stopped because, yes, there we go. So that works really, really well. And we didn't have to go super high on these ones here. So anyway, that's a pretty significant piece of infrastructure that we're building to feed this, to accommodate some rail tracks here. Okay, so let's quickly plan out the rest of that rail network that we're talking about here. So we've got this guy coming in, and I'm tempted to combine these guys like so. So we'll run this one out all the way there, and then we'll tie in one there, and we'll tie in the next one over there. So there we go. That's our one-way loop starting point. That's going to run in here, and it'll run straight through to the other side. But presumably we want to be able to bypass this guy as well. There we go. If we do something like that, that bypasses this maneuver and then allows us to potentially tie in there if we wanted to. Alternatively, we'll just make the loop. So if we wanted to, we can do this, right? That means we can tie in there. So we'll run it a little bit like so, and then what we'll do is we'll tie in over here. That's not quite working there, I think. If we, let's do that. That's fine. There we go, and there we go. Look at that. Is that reasonable? Shall I try and improve that a little bit? Let's do a little bit of this, and we'll try and improve this just a tad. So if we go all the way to this, right? We'll try and tie in it a little bit better like that. I think that's better. But what we want to do is we want to clean it up, the entire thing. Yeah, I think that's way better. Yeah, and that's going to look a lot cleaner as well. Yeah, I think that's awesome. That's awesome. And then the only thing is, do we actually bypass this as well? And I think my answer is yes, we do. Yes, I think we do bypass the entire thing. But let's just tie it in with a bit of a straight run over here. Right on the outside, so we'll trim that one back a little bit more, and we'll tie that one in like so. There we go. So let's do that. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's really beautiful. We could consider a rail distribution facility in here. So from here, we could now tie in over there to get it back to the other direction, or we could even do this, right? Ultimately. So I think that does give us a lot of flexibility in terms of what we do with this stuff here. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Let's tie that one in. Now we do need to bring it back. I'm thinking we would like it to go. So it's coming in from that side. Presumably it's not coming in from the other side. So in order to just kind of run back, let's just run it straight through there. And tie it in like so to go back. And then what we'll do is we'll straighten this up straight through here. I just wonder, where's our road connection here? Let's just have a quick look. Yeah, our road connection is right over there. So if I were to... Do you think I move it the whole thing a little bit further? No, let's just tie it in, even if it is a little bit of an angle. Let's just do that and give it a little bit of a maneuver that way, because we have to tie in a lot of stuff on this side as well. All right. So if we were to do a bit of this. I don't like it. I don't like these angles. So what we'll do is we'll just run it straight and tie it in. That is way more reasonable in my mind. Right, something like that seems very reasonable to me. And then we've got that. It's a little bit convoluted in terms of that little angle there. But ultimately, I like this a lot. As a loop, makes a lot of sense, and we can always come back and tie it in to go to the other direction. It's going to be a little bit more problematic to tie it in from this side, but it will be possible, at least for one of them, I think. So anyway, we will accept all of that, right? So now all of this is kind of workable. I like it. I like where we're at with this. This is reasonable. This is very good. Guys, I think that'll do us for this episode. It's been a recap. What do you think of all the progress we've made? What do you think of all of our excessive rail infrastructure that we're building here? Ultimately, it's going to be very industrial, and that's the whole idea, that it looks very industrial in this area. We're going to have tons and tons of rail. This one will be able to load up coal over here to be able to move coal out. This one will be able to bring in iron, and that's basically a loading and unloading facility for coal and iron. We can pick up steel. All of this is all good to go. So lots and lots of rail. We can also put in a rail distribution yard in this area, I think, or multiple power plants, for instance, as well. So we're really heavily reliant on getting our coal up and running in this area. But guys, that's it. That is our steel planning for our steel. Unfortunately, we've had one good month, and everything beyond that has been an absolute disaster, and we may have to take out a loan and at the very least consider building no, that's not what I want. Consider building something for chemicals first, because chemicals is causing us enormous pain, and I do think it's probably down to the water treatment. The water treatment is costing us a lot. But anyway, we'll leave it there. Hit that like button if you've enjoyed it. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.